Hello, gang, and welcome. Today we're going to do a drive-by. It might be a slightly longer drive-by, but I'll see what I can do on time. We're going to talk about sales. I've helped sell a lot of different things in my life. One hack, I'm going to give you all kinds of hacks here. One tip is to only sell what has a product or service that has a very, very, very clear value. That way, you can sell it honestly and openly and transparently. Because the way to stand out in sales these days is just to be extremely honest and forthright and communicate ultra clearly to the best of your ability. This is something you polish over time, but to the best of your ability, communicate the value what you have in what you're selling. And now this sounds overly simple, but I want people to really take a step back and think about this. The secret to success, I think it always has been, but especially right now, if you want to just absolutely explode with sales, no matter what you're selling, well, we'll get back to that in a second. If you really want to stand out, that's the better way of saying it, really want to stand out in sales, just be super honest. Because you know why? What's this called again? I say it almost every video, subconscious sales. And people can feel subconsciously, their subconscious tells them whether they trust you or not. Doesn't always work that way, but for the most part, people's subconscious is working for them. My subconscious is working for me. And part of that, if you're selling something that's a little bit complex, is tell them what's going to happen before it happens. We'll get back to this. But there's a few reasons to sell openly and transparently. And this is what most salespeople, most professional, quote unquote, salespeople don't understand. When you have to sell something like a sleazy salesperson, and I really don't mean it like that for all you salespeople out there. I'm not saying you're sleazy, but when you have to really work and try to sell something that you don't quite, that may not have the value, or you're muddying the value of that service. When people have to really work to sell something, they'll get a sale. So let me tell you the difference when you sell transparently. And I haven't talked about this in a while, but it's the most perfect way of explaining this. When there was a situation of unknown origin a few years back, people talked about the R not value. And this is the absolute best way of explaining really good and professional sales. This is how I like to do things. This is the only way I like to do things. And most people don't get it. Even some of my clients, they just don't get it. It's the R not value. So in other words, it's how you can infect somebody with a disease or something like that. And say you're sick with the green virus, okay? And you go out there, and it's hard for you to find a person to get sick. But when you find a person that gets sick, they get sick, and then they have it. They drop dead. We're going to just use that as an example. I know that's kind of crude, but it'll help get the point across. And you work really hard to find a person and they drop dead. You work really hard to find a person, they drop dead. But they don't infect anybody else. So the way I like to sell is I like to sell carriers of the disease. I'm not trying to kill people with a disease. So let's say with every 2 people you contact, they die. Okay. Maybe only 1 out of 10 people that I contact die, but 8 out of 10 are carrying the virus and they infect another 1 out of 10. Okay, when you start doing the math exponentially, my disease will kill a lot more people than the one that just infects someone and dies immediately because they're not infecting anybody else. So I know it sounds crazy, but hear me out. The point is, when you can communicate clearly to people and you set an expectation, and your expectation hits the mark as a bullseye, or even whatever you're selling goes above and beyond the expectation, and you communicated so clearly that that customer was comfortable with you, they tell everybody else. Okay, they're open to a testimonial. Even if they're not open to a public testimonial, they tell all their friends, or people reach out to them because people know who bought what. Like I'm in the car wash business, right? So they know who bought what equipment, what chemical, and what pay station, all that kind of stuff. And then you have the message boards and everything else. So when you communicate properly with the sale, they tell everybody else, and you get more sales, and then it's public and you get more sales. But when you have to work so hard for every sale, and then you kind of miss the mark a little bit because you had to work a little too hard, you didn't communicate things quite right, you kind of overpromised just a bit, the sale stops there. Good luck on your one sale. Congratulations on your one sale. Meanwhile, month 4, 6, year 2, 3, I'll have 600% more sales a year than you. And I'm working half as hard. Only because I communicated properly the value. I didn't over communicate. I didn't oversell the value. The way to stand out in sales is to be honest. Now, it does take skill to properly explain the value, and you have to explain the value in the way that overcomes the potential negatives, okay? But again, that's one reason you don't really want to partner with people over time. I know everybody's got to eat, everybody's got to do what they got to do, but over time, you only want to partner and sell something that has a true value for its end user. It's not only myself. I know so many sales guys in different sales positions in this business and other businesses that are loving life because they can honestly communicate what they're selling, and what they sell shows up or even better than what they sell shows up. Super simple. But to do that, get behind things that work and then communicate clearly what works and even some of the downfalls. Okay, you got to communicate that clearly too. In fact, there's a lot of studies been done, and I've explained this in my actual sales training for selling monthlies at the pay station. When you get out the negative first, people trust you more. It goes along with everything I'm telling you right now. It's being honest. So the number one inhibition when you're selling monthlies at the pay station is it comes out every month, especially when this really started getting popular, 8 to 10 years ago. And what I would tell people, this is part of the sales training, I would go through a certain specific order of a dialogue, and then I would say, it does come out every month on this date, the 3rd of every month. However, unlike a lot of other plans, you're not locked in. As long as we know 5 days before the 3rd of any month, we can shut it off anytime. Just call in or stop by. But most people keep it year round. So I tell people the potential big negative, they're going to be stuck in this thing forever. Like some of these gym memberships, they kind of shift the things around, and you might have to be longer than you thought in this gym memberships. I make it crystal clear. By the way, it's a potential negative. It does come out once a month. However, most people keep it year round. However, you can cancel anytime. So I give them the potential negative, and then I stack on top of that all the very real positives. It's safe. You can cancel anytime. Your peers are keeping it. Most of their peers are keeping it year round. So be ready to stack the positives, but tell them right up front the potential negatives. I had this conversation last night, and we were talking to a bunch of car wash people. And I come originally from the tunnel space, and dealing with tunnel point of sale systems was always a big pain in the neck. And we were talking about a in-bay point of sale system. And I was explaining in-bay owners are just used to, 3 buttons, and they never have to worry about anything. And that's part of the miscommunication is if you're trying to sell a monthly plan to an in-bay owner, a point of sale system to an in-bay owner, if they've never had to do any maintenance in their life regarding customers or monthly plans or anything else or communications or some newer technology, that alone needs to be communicated beforehand. Like, look, there's going to be some growing pains here. There's going to be some things to learn. You're going to have more maintenance than you knew about. However, in the real world, most in-bay owners are making 2, 3, 4 times the amount of money, have a much safer business. They're nowhere near as vulnerable to the economy and to weather, which is a big deal in the car wash business. So you can stack on all the positives, but tell them up front so they're not disappointed. Hey, you have to learn a few things. There's going to be a little bit of maintenance involved. In fact, we can even take care of the maintenance for you, just so you know, this is a new ball game. You're going to start monthly plans. And if you've been washing cars as an in-bay owner for 25 years, this is different. However, there's a real reason everybody's going this direction because they make a lot more money, have a way safer business. And if you want to sell, that's what all the people going to buy your wash are looking for, the reoccurring revenue. So again, I could stack all day long the positives. There is a potential negative for that customer because they're not used to doing some of this extra work. Get that out front and then tell them all the positives. I'm using that as an example of professionalism. You can still set the proper expectation and still get all the negatives out. And again, that builds trust, which it should, because you're not shying away. You're not putting a veil over the potential negatives. You just right out front. Boom. By the way, here's the potential negative. Here's what you see online. Just so you know, boom, 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 boom. And then stack on all the value of why it's still their choice. But still, this is why people are choosing this. Because overall, it does have a great value. And overall, it brings way, way more revenue to an owner's life. So that's one example. I'll give you a few more. So this just popped up in my Facebook feed yesterday. There is a meat processor, a meat store about an hour from me. Everybody knows they have the best meat, okay? And yesterday they posted single or double. They have a food truck now, okay? Single cheeseburger, $5. Double cheeseburger, $8. This is the best part. Don't forget to grab a side of crispy tallow fries. And then here's the best part. I apologize. Plain burger only, then it has a little exclamation point. And here's what it is. Here's the things you need about the negatives. Plain burger only, no toppings, no specialty burgers. Just old-fashioned, juicy, delicious burgers done right. So they're communicating, we have nothing special here, but everybody in the area knows their meat is the best meat. But they're still communicating their value. And they're showing the expectation right on the post. Plain burger, no toppings, no specialty. You want something on it, bring your own stuff or take it home and put your own stuff on it. It is just a cheeseburger. That's it. There's nothing else on this thing. And they sell like nobody's business. They're not trying to be someone else. Their value is the best meat in the area by a long shot. Their value is a few really good ingredients, a bun, a cheese, and the best meat around, and a good price. That's the value. Take it or leave it. They're not playing around. It's an easier model to do. Everybody's going to share this like crazy. And there's comments and likes everywhere on this forum. I have a couple different monthly plans for my own business. I have an in-bay owners club. Actually, tunnel owners can join as well. I just started with in-bay. It's the same philosophies. It really is, for the most part. It is very expensive. And that's how I tell people. It's a very expensive message board. At the moment of shooting this, it's $250 a month. What do they get? Access to myself, access to other in-bay owners, or again, tunnel owners, because a lot of us were in the tunnel game first, where we can transparently and openly share ideas of how to make our business better. No BS from message boards. It's expensive. I tell them that right up front. Hey, it's a really expensive message board. Here's your value. Take it or leave it. I'm not trying to set any crazy expectation. We do Zoom calls. We have access to each other. So we do some things. There's great information on the forum. But the point is, I'm not trying to make it anything it isn't. You want access to myself. You want access to other really high-level owners, as well as some new owners. Half of the people on there haven't even built their first wash yet because they want to know exactly how to build their wash, or they just opened their first wash. And then other owners or people like myself have a lot of experience, and we're all sharing ideas. That's all it is. Take it or leave it. The value's there. You sell 10 monthly plans. It's paid for. And I just got off the phone with one of them, and they sold like, probably triple the typical monthly plans in a year, at least double the monthly plans in a year than everybody else out there in this sector. So yeah, it's worth it. Absolutely. But I'm not trying to draw people in. Whoever wants to be in it wants to be in it. It's expensive. Take it or leave it. Then I have my online training, which is probably the best sales training to how for someone to sell a monthly plan at the pay station. I'm confident it's got to be one of the best out there. Why do I say that? Because again, as all of you know, I study on the subconscious. I make it simple. It's safe for the customer. It's ultra low pressure, super effective. I've had many people tell me they've doubled or tripled their monthly plan sales, and it's super inexpensive. It's $20 a month per employee. Cancel anytime. But again, I'm communicating clearly what it is. All it does is tell you exactly how to sell it. It's $20 a month. You could drop off, but most people need to stay on it and take it a couple times and refresh every so many months. And you could use other sales training out there. You use other accountability forums. You could do whatever you want. The value of that is it's super inexpensive. I have one thing that's very expensive. One thing is super inexpensive. It's an online training course. It took me several years to put it together. I continue to hone it, but now it's at a point where it's online and it doesn't take me much to maintain. Take it or leave it. You guys hear me talk about chemicals fairly often on this channel because chemicals have evolved. A chemical can be way safer, way more effective, and lower your cost per car and make it easier on the employees to tune. That's progress. Take it or leave it. Now let's circle back. The reason I brought all this up, if you really want to accelerate in sales, you want people selling for you while you sleep. You want to build advocates. You want to build that disease so everybody infects everybody else. That's how to exponentially gain sales, how to exponentially grow your business. I've done this time and time and time and time again with multiple different sectors and multiple different businesses. And the way you do that is figure out and tune your value so it's undeniable, communicate your value clearly, get the potential negatives out front, show how the value is well above and beyond those potential negatives, and deliver. If you sell a 2 out of 10, a 5 out of 10, or an 8 out of 10, always deliver a point or two more than what you're selling. Always make the expectations clear and go a hint above those expectations. It's really that simple. But that's where most miss it. That's all for today. You agree, disagree? Show your comments down below. Hope you have a good day. Your time is the most valuable thing you own, so I greatly appreciate it. Take care.